Thank you, Lon, for having time. I'm very happy that we can meet today and hear a little bit about your life and your wisdom.
Well, an honor to be asked and a pleasure to be here. I'm a,
Um,
I'm I'm a little dingy today because I got my second vaccine shot yesterday.
oh, hmm, yeah,
So I'm feeling a little,
I see.
yeah. I'm not at 100%, but I'm never at 100%. So
Welcome to the club. So, what kind of vaccine did you get?
Pfizer.
Pfizer. Okay, okay. I will see. At the moment, we don't have that much of a choice here in Germany.
Well, I think anything you can get first is what you should be getting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that. I already had COVID-19 about December 29.
Oh,
And it was at that time nobody knew what it was, but I had all the symptoms, everything, and it was quite a ride, I can tell you.
oh, well, I'm glad you made it through it. So you probably have a bit of your own uh, resistance to it,
I
or at
hope
least that strain. Yes. So,
I hope
well,
so.
glad to hear you made it through. Okay.
Yes, I did. Lon, when I read your biography and some of your books, I had the impression that you have a very special gift, explaining magic, tarot, these kind of things to people, like me, who don't have this special knowledge, so we can understand what it's all about. And so I canceled most of the questions I had and wanted just to ask you whether you would do us a favor to talk a little bit about what is magic for the rest of us. So why do you do it? Why is it such a core topic of your life? I think that might be very interesting.
Well, yeah, I'm a musician too, or I wouldn't say that I'm a musician, but uh, I write songs,
Mm.
and over the years, in various capacities, I get them recorded and played and things like that. So if that makes me a musician, then I guess I'm a musician. Uh, and uh, but that's not what I am, okay? And that's not what you are. You aren't what you do, or even what you
Right.
study, or okay. Uh, you're just who you are, and uh, part of who I am uh, was best served in my youth uh, by learning to play guitar
Mm,
and expressing myself that way. But I went at it sort of from an activist's point of view. I I don't like to write songs that are just about nothing. Okay. Uh, when I was a kid, all my songs had to have some kind of social message, or my heroes were uh, like Woody Guthrie
mm,
and Pete Seeger, and
mm.
then Bob Dylan, and I
Sure.
I just love those old 1930s Depression era progressive, you know, labor movement folk songs,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And when I was growing up, it was the Vietnam War.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
That was the background meditation to a whole generation of
Yeah.
uh, kids that I grew up with, and it was uh, uh, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't even know what my IQ is. It's not fair. I'm just a regular guy, and I probably have attention deficit disorder or something like that, because I was terrible in school. I mean, horrible. And but things that I loved in school, I just poured everything into it, you know. But I was a class clown, and it wasn't until, you know, that they discovered that I'd fit in with music and theater that that they said, well, maybe we won't have to kick him out too many times if we get him in music and theater. And so I'm just who I am. I'm an observer of myself, and I don't know if that is a key or not, because one of the great epiphanies of esoteric study is the realization that the very first thing, the very first step on the road of return, or the first awakening, is that you become the observer of your own existence. And for some reason, I had a bone disease in my hip when when I started to walk. And they thought it was polio, of course. In those years, they thought it was polio, but it wasn't. It was this bone disease that called Perthes, and there's no cure to it. But you, every once in a while, the patient will outgrow it if you just immobilize them.
Okay.
So I was immobilized from about 3 to almost 5 years old. It was 2 years I was immobilized.
Oh God!
Just laying in my crib. They put me back in the crib, you know. And I just stared at the ceiling, and I was still so young. I was processing the infantile memories, which aren't connected to language.
I see.
Okay. And so the idea of the continuity of my own existence, and that I was being an observer of my own existence. You know, physicists say that you change the circumstances of an experiment just by observing it.
Yes.
Okay.
Quantum physics. Yes.
So what greater piece of magic is when you observe yourself? Okay. And so this is where I received or enjoyed replaying my pre-linguistic infant memories. And that included what I can only interpret now as glimpses of previous incarnations. And but I wasn't looking at it in a linear way, like I have just, everything was compressed into a now. Okay. And so it wasn't like, oh, I went back in time and remembered a previous incarnation. No, this is just me as a soldier, you know. This is just me as a, you know, a clerk, you know. And I didn't think anything spooky about that at all. But I became the observer of my own existence. And by the time I got out and could start walking and things like that, and I got to go to movies, I love the fact that movies were a form of this self-observation. Only the audience was the observer. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So every day when I'd walk to school and things like that, when I got quite a bit older, I'd walk to school and I could play in my head music that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like the soundtrack of my own movie.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where truly the magic started.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That I realized that as a consciousness, as a unit of consciousness, I observe my own existence. That must mean I can work with the plot of my own movie.
Okay. Yeah.
So instead of just being the observer, I'm also the director.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm also the protagonist and villain, okay, because they're always more interesting, you know. So I guess the whole thing just sort of started like that. So that applied to absolutely everything that I did in my day-to-day life. That's how I handled school. That's how I handled piano lessons. That's how I handled being in the school musicals.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got a guitar, that's how I got into a band. That's and and all of it was my magic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I moved to California after graduating from high school, my music almost immediately, I mean, within just a couple months,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I was writing songs with my partner, and we were getting the songs published.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, by 1969, we had a recording contract with Epic Records,
Wow.
made an album, 2 singles with Epic, did studio work. I mean, it wasn't like I had a desire to do that.
It just happened.
It just happened because it seemed like it was easier to do it than to not do it.
I see. Mm-hmm.
It's almost like each of us have a flow
Mm-hmm.
about our life, why we're here. We wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't even be conscious. We wouldn't even be a monad of consciousness if there wasn't something that we had to do.
I see.
Okay, we wouldn't even be here. If you're here right now, that means there's a job that you got to do that's undone. You know? You're here, well, get to work. You know,
Great idea.
yeah.
Great idea. Yeah, all your songs I listen to on YouTube, they are fantastic. You know, the text, the lyrics, they really were catchy for me. Very, very interesting, very thoughtful, very wise, and very entertaining. Like Don't Write Me Off, you know. Uh, I think that everybody who gets at the end of 50 or so should hear it. It is
Well, I
just
agree. Yeah.
the message. It's the message, you know. But all the other songs I listened to, I did not listen to everything, but I listened to about 7, 8. They were all like wise. And I thought, does this come from your magic? Because one sentence which I remembered is that you stated the only thing which you can really change by doing magic is yourself. Wow, that's interesting.
Well, of course, because yourself is all you have to work with.
Yes, right.
uh, you know, the big misconception
Mm-hmm.
about magic is that it's sort of a Hollywood way of looking at it, that you do magic to tap into objective hidden forces that you know, represented as angels and demons and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, and then by some kind of variety of bullying. You bully some demons into, or angels, you bully them into doing stuff for you, and then they get mad at you and then eat you or take you to hell or something like that. Uh, but that's not the way it works. Okay, it may appear for a while to be something like that, and of course, the medieval magicians
Yeah.
certainly interpreted the technical aspects of how all of this works, but they really missed the big point. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was a little bit Machiavellian style, which they understood what magic is.
Right.
Mhm.
And the thing is that, yes, you can affect a change in the world around you. You can do magic to affect a change in the world around you.
Mhm.
But in order to affect that change, the magician has to, the reason the magician needs that change to happen is because at the moment, the magician just isn't the type of person that that stuff happens to.
Wow, yeah,
Okay.
quite an idea.
It'd be like, okay, you know, I want to win the lottery.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to win the lottery. I want to whip up a demon and make me win that lottery. Theoretically, you don't have that lottery money because you're not the type of guy at the moment who wins the lottery. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there are people who win the lottery. You know,
Yes.
it's not a big miracle.
Mhm.
There's lots of lottery winners. You're just not the type of guy that can win the lottery. If you're going to do magic and you've only got yourself truly to work with, how do I change myself into the type of guy that wins the lottery?
I see.
And that's where all of the crazy, scary stuff happens.
Mhm.
Because if it really is your will to win that lottery, if that's really part of your big, karmic momentum there, then you're going to have to knock some rough edges off yourself
Yeah.
to turn you into that type of person that wins the lottery.
Mhm.
And in your particular case, I'm not meaning you personally, I'm just,
No, I understand.
in your particular case, in order to make you into the type of person that wins the lottery, you have to be, let's say, you have to lose your leg.
Gosh, unpleasant.
I'm just saying this as a,
I see, I see.
but it turns you into a different kind of person.
Yes.
Okay, everything changes. Your consciousness changes. The way people around you change, and the way people around you and the way the world reacts to you becomes so different that you are so different that just perhaps that turns you into the type of person
Mm-hmm.
that wins the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
An easier analogy would be you do magic to make the girl next door to fall in love with you.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, but she's her own magician.
Mm-hmm.
You can't work on her. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what you think,
Mm-hmm.
you can't. She's her own magician. You can't go there. So the reason she's not in love with you is you're not the type of person that she would ever, ever, ever fall in love with. Okay. So you do magic, you whip up a spirit. He says, yeah, I can get her to fall in love with you. And then for the next 6 months, that spirit or your life conspires to put you through so many traumatic changes
Mm-hmm.
that it appears that they are misfortunes.
I see.
Okay, so this is where the bad reputation for this kind of magic comes. Oh, I did this and I had such terrible luck, and and oh, I did this and my dog got killed, and I did this,
Mhm.
But let's just say that the girl next door would fall in love with you
Mhm.
if she noticed you, and she wouldn't notice you unless you say lost your leg.
Yeah, I see.
And then not only that, but then she starts to help you get to the grocery store a couple of days a week. You start talking with her. She starts falling in love with you, you know, and that was, and if it was truly your will that you get together with that gal, the whole thing was worth it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. And if it wasn't your will,
Mm.
the spirit still succeeded in doing what it said it would do.
Yes, yes, it was what you wanted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in a sense, that's how all of that kind of practical magic works. It only works on yourself.
Mhm.
So the big uh, revelation in that kind of magic is, first of all, what do you want?
Mhm.
In order to make your magic work and to do magic and to be a magician, what do you want?
That is an interesting point. You see, whenever I was reading this sentence, love is the law, love under will. What many people I know understood as will is like the will of the ego. But I got so many hints in the text that it's more the will of the six chakras. So the spiritual will. What is your opinion on that?
Well, that's absolutely correct.
Mhm.
Um, for the last couple thousand years, the West has been dominated by the idea of the will of God
Yeah.
and God's will, and that uh, good pious people do their best to cooperate with God's will. I
Mhm.
just want many prayers. I just want to do your will,
Mhm.
your will for my life, let me do it, and all of that's fine and good. And
Mhm.
it's an advance from a more primitive point of view. It's a spiritual advance to look at things that way.
Would this be in Tarot at the Great Arcana, the High Priestess?
Well, she's a facet of that, especially the one that's concerned with the memory flow that
Mhm.
is necessary. But the idea that we are already born and we wouldn't be here if
Mhm.
we weren't already part of what we always thought was God's will.
Yeah.
Okay. We're here. Okay. It's a foregone conclusion. It's obvious. It's self evident. I'm here. I'm part of what they used to call God's will.
Mhm.
But it's so stupid to try to figure out the the details of what the omniscient, omnipresent, everything else is, singular intelligence, singular consciousness of the universe, to try to figure that out and then attempt to cooperate with it.
A little
Okay,
bit too much.
that's so
Mm.
stupid. When you're already here, it's already infused you. Let me just figure out what my will is, and then I will understand what God's will is. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I can understand it from the point of view, from the facet that I am here to perceive it.
Mhm.
So that's the love is the law. Okay. The
Mhm.
love under will. And the fact that discovering and doing one's will is just a new kind of improved way of looking at, I want to do God's will.
I see.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. By the way, when reading the Goetia, I don't know how you pronounce it right. Goetia.
You could pronounce it any way you want.
When reading this and reading your biography, I had the impression that the demons, the angels, they have a gender problem because there were always male people over there. Don't they have girls over there?
Obviously not. Okay. No. That's a great observation too. And you notice in the Goetia, I pronounce it Goetia, okay? And it's probably incorrect. So, but I've done it for so many years. It's spelled Goetia. Okay. But it's a unique word in and of itself. But there's 72 spirits that are roughly assigned to in pairs to the decans of the zodiac. Okay. The 36 decans, there's a Goetic spirit for the daytime and one for the nighttime. Okay.
Oh, wow, very structured.
Well, and it was just one magician that organized them that way. It wasn't like Metatron, set up the chart himself, or anything like that. But they all seem to be male. Even the ones that are assigned to the metal copper and the planet Venus. And even though they've got names like Ashtaroth, which sounds suspiciously like Astarte, and even though it's obvious that quite a number of them appear as a beautiful woman or as a beautiful angel, or as a good-looking angel, or and then you got to remember that we wouldn't even have these manuscripts had it not been for the work of monks who copied these manuscripts from older manuscripts. And in that process of lonely, sexually frustrated, anxiety-ridden monks, scribes over the years, things like Astarte, former gods of the previous aeon. The gods of one aeon become the devils of the aeon to follow. And so that's how the characters of these spirits got pigeonholed into, number one, being all male, then being all unpleasant, Okay. Because all they were trying to do is personify 72 sections of our own psyche that actually do the heavy lifting in our life. Okay. They're blind forces when they're not directed or controlled. So there's, it's a. Do you like Star Trek? Do you like the old Star Trek?
Sure. Come on.
There was an old Star Trek where Captain Kirk somehow got himself split up into two Captain Kirks. One was completely positive and aggressive, and the other one was completely passive
Mm-hmm.
and negative. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
negative in a good way, but
Depressive.
mild. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the positive side was ambitious and greedy and driven and ego-y and the other one just couldn't make a decision because he could see everything. He was totally empathetic and stuff. Okay, neither one of them could get the job done of being the captain.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the Goetic spirits are 72 individual little units of all the things that can get stuff done, but they've got to have a higher intelligence to direct them. Sort of like the heavy machinery at a construction site.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, uh, that big bulldozer could be so destructive if you just turn on the switch and put it in gear and then jump off and let that bulldozer go all around the town. It would smash buildings and run over people and everything else. It'd be very destructive. But when there's an intelligence sitting in the driver's seat of that bulldozer, you can help construct great buildings with it. You could build a temple with it. You could build a church with it. Okay. And that's what Goetia is. Inside each of us are all of these units of blind forces. Some of them we've already got under control. Otherwise, we're not in jail, or we're not beating people up. So we got a few of those under control.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them are still giving us a real problem and are just sort of running amok in our psyches, and it's those that we try to get under control to fix specific things in our life.
Yeah.
I tell people never, please, it's no good to even dream about evoking a Goetic spirit unless you've got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you've got a problem, your problem is that spirit.
Ah. So it's a problem and a solution.
It's a solution because only the problem can fix itself.
I see.
So once you've identified and just think about it, how many times have you even pretended that you've trapped your problem in a triangle and had the opportunity to have a heart-to-heart talk with that problem?
Times. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's an exercise like that. And once you've had that talk with it, once the spirit has made its agreement with you to shape up, then you have to hold it to its promise. And that's where the work starts being done on yourself. And that does manifest in weird, unseen ways in the circumstances of your life around you, so much so that it would lead one to draw all sorts of superstitious conclusions.
I see.
But it's you really shouldn't. It's things that just take place on a quantum level. That's what they'd say now.
That sounds in many ways like a more detailed way, like in Huna, there is the Unipili, we call it often inner child, which represents all these powers, but it needs the Aumakua, the higher self, to do some good stuff, some constructive stuff. Is this a similar concept?
It's the exact same concept. It's the exact same, only with medieval clothes on.
Yeah, and more detailed, of course.
Yeah.
and related to astrology, as I have just learned from you. So that is fascinating. There is astrology with angels built in.
Right. Yeah, a deck of tarot cards is like a block of flats. it's
Really?
it's a spirit angel spirit block of flats, and it's,
Gosh.
yeah.
Your idea, what you wrote in your biography, that the first, I think, years when you were learning to use the tarot, you understood the tarot not as something like an oracle, but as something to promote your growth of your personality. That is fascinating. Most people do it for oracle purposes.
Well, that's and it makes a good oracle because
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Hmm.
Okay, it's just like a beautiful astrological wheel with the decans and the houses and the signs and the planets. Okay, it's perfect. Okay,
Hmm.
and beauty and perfect things. Uh, that's where truth reveals itself. That's why
Hmm.
when we take a walk at a beautiful out the beach or something, and the perfection of the beauty around us kicks off all sorts of it speaks truth.
Hmm.
So in beauty is eternal truth revealed. And yeah, I got into tarot uh, to as sort of a shortcut, bonehead way for me to grasp Kabbalistic principles.
Ah.
Uh, and as a matter of fact, I my whole publishing, I look, I'm lazy. Okay,
Hmm.
I never intended to be a writer. Okay. I'd be happy just playing songs and picking my guitar and, uh, but I sort of accidentally fell into uh, writing
Hmm.
because I created a tarot deck, not an official tarot deck, just something I could use for my Monday night magic class, sort
Hmm.
of as flashcards. And the idea being that, like, here's like the Five of Wands. Okay.
Oh, I see. Beautiful.
Okay.
Oh, with the Enochian symbol in it.
Yeah, because everything fits with everything else.
Wow. Wow.
Everything is self-referential or is co-referential. Okay, but the Four of Wands here is 20 degrees to 30 degrees Aries.
Great.
You see
Yeah.
that in the corner? Okay.
Uh, don't you have a tarot deck in print? I tried to get it in Germany, but they don't seem to have it in stock.
It's hard to get because of the shipping at the moment.
Ah,
But it's
I,
Tarot of Ceremonial Magic.
great. And there you have also these astrological Enochian details in it.
Yes. So
Wow.
first of all, there's the date. It's April or okay, and there's I gotta do this like that. Okay,
Yeah, now I can see it. Now I can see
there's
it.
one Goetic spirit that goes
Hmm.
in it. That's the nighttime one,
Yeah.
and it's the daytime one.
Ah, I see.
And
Hmm.
there's in 5 degree sections, those are classic Kabbalistic angels of that 5 degree period.
Ah.
Those are called angels of the Shemhamferish. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, each of the small cards, the 2s through 10s, represent 30 degrees of the zodiac or 10 degrees. So the 36 small cards are the whole zodiacal year in decades.
Ah, and the Goetic spirits, right?
And the Goetic spirits, angels of the Shemhamferish, and even the Enochian square off of the Grand Cross of all 4 of the elemental tablets of the Enochian system.
What a treasure chamber. Did you write a book about that?
Yes.
Ah, Please let me know what it is.
The book is called Tarot Ceremonial Magic, and it's much easier to get at the moment than
Ebook.
the cards are, and much cheaper.
Yeah.
Uh, it's sold internationally all over the place.
Mhm.
But the court cards, the knights, the queens, and the princes
And the I Ching.
rule 20 degrees of one sign to 20 degrees of another.
Ah, that's genial.
And they even have I Ching hexagrams
Great.
associated with them, because the Knight of Wands here is fire of fire. So that's the fire of fire I Ching hexagram.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the Enochian subangle.
Wow.
And the Tattva symbols are on the card so that you can actually use the card with a Tattva meditation to actually astrally project into that quadrant of the elemental universe that the Knight of Discs represents.
Just help us a little bit with the Tatwa. I think many people would like to know more about what Tatwa is.
The Hindus have their version of the elemental work. Or I should say that the Western magic has its version of the Hindu, because the Hindu came long before the medieval times. So the idea that we can talk about wands and cups and swords and discs being weapons of the fire, water, air, and earth. Okay, so they're symbols for fire, water, air, and earth. And that means everything in the cosmos that's either fiery in nature or watery in nature. It doesn't have to be wet to be watery. A mirror they can be a water symbol, you know.
Sure.
But the Hindus, like so much other in the science of esoteric thought, they really had their act together. And instead of wading our way through symbols like a wand for fire, they said, no, we can just get the essence of what that is, the essence of that facet of the totality of consciousness of that we would call fire. And we can just get that, not by reading the Vedas, or not by reading a text, or not by hearing a sound, or anything, but we can get that information just through the cones and rods of our eyes. And the perfect symbol for fire, or what we would call fire, is a red triangle with the apex pointing up.
Okay.
And if you look at that red triangle, I'm trying to find. If you look at that red triangle under a nice bright light, and just sort of relax and do whatever you need to do to sort of say, I now want to go into that world that is pure fire, so I can understand its nature and what it means to me. And then all of a sudden, just take your eyes off of that and look at a white surface, say, and you see that ghost image.
Yeah.
And that ghost image is sort of blue.
Sure.
Because that red isn't really red, it's everything but red. Okay.
Ah,
So, in order for us to actually see what the red is, we have to trap that ghost image and then project into it to
mhm,
see what that world of that facet of consciousness is really like. And that's where we have our own private
mhm.
visions. Uh,
I see.
and the message is delivered to us in our own vocabulary of
Mhm,
images and our own vocabulary of concepts that means something to us and us alone. So, like one magician might project into that this fire of fire symbol,
mhm,
and they might see something very classic, a fiery dragon of some kind, or
mhm.
something like that. And someone else might get the vision of themselves eating a red popsicle, or or so. Okay, the message would be absolutely the same,
Mhm,
but it was delivered in a vocabulary that is
yeah,
understandable only to the magician.
mhm.
This is why I don't particularly like guided meditations.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Uh,
Mhm,
I don't, you climb up into the tree of life and you've entered the yellow world of Hode, and
mhm.
you see a man in an orange vest eating fish sticks with his toes. Uh, you know, no, don't tell me what to see. I'll see my own stupid stuff because it'll mean something to me. So,
Yeah. Just, I think one thing which many people ask themselves, why should a magician go into that fire world? What it is not an act of curiosity, I guess. There is something in it when a magician goes into the world of fire or water or earth or air. What is it? What do you get out there when working as a magician there?
it's an initiation.
Ah,
The uh, and that's what the Kabbalah is good for. It helps organize your mind to give you at least even an artificial idea of the structure of your own consciousness, and
mhm,
each step being just a little higher frequency of consciousness.
mhm,
And when you are self-identifying with those different levels of consciousness, you change. Everything about you changes. Your perception changes. It's hard to know when you've changed because
no.
you take yourself with you.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
problem.
there's nothing to compare it to.
No.
Am I changed? I guess I am. Uh, so it's like an initiation.
Mhm,
I love Mozart's Magic Flute. Okay,
yeah,
I just absolutely love it. It's almost like a vaudeville.
a great metaphor it is
Yeah.
for me. Mm,
And at the very end, uh, uh, Camino and Pamina, the prince and the princess, together become joint initiates, and they pass through uh, the four universe,
mhm,
elemental degrees.
mhm.
Okay, and go into the level of consciousness where they are truly wed. Okay,
Oh, okay. So is it, do I understand this right? That the initiation is for getting a kind of integrated personality
absolutely,
so that anima and animus are coming together?
yeah. And the thing is, we're already there.
Ah,
We're already integrated. Okay,
mhm.
uh, it's just that we're asleep to that fact. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's not that we become integrated. We just wake up, sometimes gradually, sometimes more abruptly. We
Mhm.
wake up to the fact that, oh, I've been integrated all along.
Gosh, all the work for nothing.
Well, in retrospect, you look at it and say, yeah, oh, that was a waste of time. Well, it wasn't a waste of time because you
Not really.
probably wouldn't be there had you not done all that stuff, so.
When looking at this triangle, which you showed me, the Tatwa triangle, I was reminded of the Sri Yantra, this ancient mandala with the triangles. Is there any correlation to that? Any
Yeah,
relation?
I think that's where the Tatva thing was plucked from. Uh,
Ah,
air is a blue circle,
yeah.
and earth is a yellow square,
Hmm.
and water is a silver crescent.
Like the moon.
Right.
Hmm.
And spirit, the fifth element,
Hmm.
which would be like the aces,
Hmm.
is represented by a very dark, so violet it looks black, egg.
Hmm.
And if I can find an ace here, I'll show you what I mean by that. These cards, I just made them out of uh, note cards,
Hmm. Hmm.
like index cards
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, for Monday night magic class.
They are great. As soon as the ships are moving again, I will get my deck. You
All
shall.
right. Okay, so there's the ace
Hmm.
of cups. Okay, like the Holy Grail.
Yeah, yeah.
There's the silver crescent for the
Okay.
water, and there's the black egg
Yeah,
for spirit.
yeah.
So uh, that's how that goes, and that's Enochian stuff there. And
Talking about the chalice and the cups, the Holy Grail. What I always wondered about is why is there a water element related to the Holy Grail? Or is it just a misconception I have?
well, the water part of it is such a small uh, part of its meaning as to it shouldn't dominate
Ah, okay.
the thing. Uh, but a cup receives
Hmm.
things, okay,
Hmm.
and holds it. Not
Hmm.
only that, but then the cup is also given to somebody, okay,
Yes.
and the the idea of the supernal deities, the supreme male and female aspect of deity uh, aren't really two things
Hmm.
because they belong together.
Ah, like yin and yang.
Exactly.
Hmm.
They belong together. Shiva, Shakti.
Hmm.
On the tree of life, that's
Oh,
Hokmah
beautiful.
and
Wow.
Bina. Okay. But they're above the abyss. They're part of that three.
Hmm.
Okay. So that two really isn't real in and of itself. It's just a reflection of one.
I see.
And
Hmm.
this three isn't really a thing in and of itself.
Hmm.
It's the realization that one isn't two. Okay.
Well, yeah.
So
Nice
there's
way to put
number
it.
one, the singularity of consciousness, just brooding happily away, being the singularity of consciousness, wanting to know what the hell it is. Why it would want to become self-aware, we don't know. Nobody knows.
No.
Okay.
And
You can't know that. Why did the singularity want to become self-aware? Maybe it didn't. Maybe we're just reading all of this into it.
well, you need to have something to spend the time, you know.
Yeah. But as it appears that we've got lots of stuff around us and that we're not actually the singularity ourselves, there must be something to it. One wanted to become self-aware, and the only way it could do that is to reflect itself inwardly.
Okay. Makes sense.
It couldn't hold a mirror outside of itself because there is no outside of itself. Okay. So it reflected itself like a good yogi in meditation. Okay. And hits dead center of its limitlessness and goes, that's what I am. I'm the one. Whoa, I'm really big, or I'm
Great surprise.
But the second it realized what it was, it created the third condition.
Yeah.
Okay, and it created that number 3. And so the second condition would be Shiva. The third condition would be Shakti. Okay. Now, the evolving consciousness, and that thing flips and it becomes 4, 5, and 6. And then that duplicates just like 3, then that becomes 7, 8, and 9. Okay. And down here at 3, we just dangle like sort of a dingleberry of an afterthought of creation. But the awakening of everything below 1, 2, and 3, the awakening of consciousness, is seen metaphorically as the blood of the saints in Western allegorical imagery. So it's like the blood, the lifeblood of all consciousness that has been overcome in its initiatory rise up the tree of life.
Okay.
Until finally it is delivered across that great abyss from 4 to 3, or even from 5 to 3. And that return to Godhead is seen as the blood of the saints, or the blood of the martyrs, being poured into the cup of the Holy Grail.
Okay.
That's the holy blood that's in the cup.
Yeah.
And that's number 3. So Shakti, if we're going to use the Hindu term, right? Yeah. So Shakti she's the queen of the Holy Grail. And then she tiptoes across this path of love here, which is to number 2, and wakes up Shiva.
Yes, he's sleeping.
And gives him a drink of the blood of the returned blood of all evolving life. And that's enough to wake him up and take a look at her and go, wow, you're pretty tonight. Wow. And that when he awakens to that, because of that blood that she brought across the thing, they unite and become one.
So that's the Heroes Gamos idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now this has always been implied in Christian mysticism.
Yeah.
Okay. It's always been implied in Christian mysticism, but it's, and the mystics who attempted to use this figurative language and everything else didn't need to dwell on it, because when your consciousness hits that point, all of this becomes self-evident.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is why you got Buddhist stuff that says the same stuff. You got Hindu stuff that says the same thing. You got Polynesian stuff that says the same thing. Okay. It's not because they all got together and said, let's all study the same books. No, let's study ourselves, and we all
Yeah.
come to the same conclusion. So,
And you find the same thing. That is fascinating. These 3 pillars, they remind me of Ida, Sushumna, and Pingala. It's related to that.
it is that.
It is that. And
It is that.
what is Darth then? What is this Darth? I don't know how you call it. Zephira?
Yeah,
Zephirot?
Da'ath.
Da.
It's a. This is my tarot bag, and
I see. Useful.
It's the
Something handy.
that's the 3 of life. Okay, notice there isn't a Sephira right there in the
Right.
abyss. Okay, that's the looking glass area that separates the ideal from the actual. I guess we could look at it that way. And there is a kind of an invisible, some say a false Sephira or emanation right there, right in the looking glass itself. So if reality or the ideal or the supernal triad would be what you see on the other side of a mirror, Da'ath is the mirror surface itself. And that's the reason that human consciousness has such a challenge to pass from one side of the mirror to the other.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And so that is Da'ath, or Da'ath, D-A-A-T-H, it's usually spelled in English. Yeah. And it means knowledge. Okay, now, from where we're sitting, knowledge is a good thing. Okay. From down here, knowledge is, whoa, it's really great. And knowledge is good when you're at this level of consciousness, and knowledge is great when you're there, and knowledge is great. And then here at number 6, okay, you meet your own holy guardian angel, you meet your own private version of deity, and become married to it, wed to it. Okay, you really wake up pretty good right there.
Is this the Ishtar deity, which they venerate in India, the personal deity?
Yeah. And until you get your personal thing, devotion to any deity will activate the anahata.
Okay.
It's a trigger. You fall so in love with deity that not only are you finally able to love deity, send out a love ray to deity, but you've also got to the point of where you can completely surrender and receive that same ray of love back from the deity.
Oh, okay.
And it creates a feedback, just like when you put a microphone in front of a speaker, it goes, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know that.
But this is a love feedback.
Okay, it's a better one.
When it happens, of course, you catch on fire, you know. Okay, but that's where that marriage happens. But when you get all the way to 4 there's only really one place for you to go, and that's through the looking glass.
Ah, that's what it's for. When I read your book, you quoted Crowley saying that everything which every magical act which does not help you to unite with your guardian angel is considered to be black magic and only acceptable until you get there.
Yeah.
Is this the idea of which you just
Yeah.
explained to us?
Yeah. The it's like two crises. Okay, you can Magick has two great crises, but it's the same crisis as everyone. The Buddha went through these. It's universal crisis. The first one is knowing who you are by finally opening up the anahat. Okay, you not only wake up in Western magic, it's called the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel.
Okay.
And I'm doing a whole lecture on it.
You give a class about that?
Wednesday night.
Oh, wow.
I don't know when this plays, but anyway, it's a Zoom thing. The knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel is where you finally set up that love feedback. Okay. And it's seen as a mystic marriage, like your holy guardian angel is the level of consciousness. It's your own level of consciousness, but it's, as long as you're asleep, it seems separated from you. So your angel right now is standing right behind you saying, wake up, you idiot. Let me kiss you, you know. Because the angel, in a sense, needs you as much as you need the angel. But when you awaken there, and that's the first crisis, knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. Now you know who you are. Okay. Or at least have a good idea of who you are. The next crisis is to cross the abyss, to move through the looking glass.
And why is this a crisis?
Because everything you thought you were, everything you thought is, everything you thought you had, everything, every quality you thought there is, you have to let go.
Okay.
It can't pass through the looking glass. It's too thick. it's too heavy.
Yeah.
Okay? And it becomes a crisis because whatever little vestiges that you have left, whatever little suitcases you've got that aren't really you, but you're still hanging on to them, every little piece of baggage that you still have that would separate you from, that represents any form of duality whatsoever in your mind. Can't make it through the abyss. The only thing that can make it through the abyss is what you really are.
Oh, that reminds me to the gates of paradise, which are heavily guarded by the cherubim angels. Is this something like that?
No, it's like that. It's like Cerberus guarding the.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's all sorts of colorful crossing the abyss imagery, like the great devil Corone zone.
Yeah.
It means dispersion. The thing is, you can't take what's not you across the abyss. And even at that high level of consciousness, pretty much everything you think you are isn't you.
Makes sense in a way.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. But I just think, what will the average person think? What is it good for? So when you live a life like you have a job, you have a family, now you're walking that path and you are standing in front of that abyss and think, should I go there? So if I would walk over that abyss, if I would go through that crisis, so am I still compatible to a normal life after that?
Uh, Gee, I would say you would have to be,
Mhm.
or you aren't. Okay. The thing is, at each step up that tree of life, you sort of master, then balance, and then rebalance
Mhm.
all the little duality things step by step, going all the way up. Okay. At any one of those points, you can falter and blow it. But
Mhm.
like, first of all, way down in number 10 on the tree of life consciousness, that's what we think of as objective reality.
Mhm.
And we got to balance, rebalance, conquer our objective reality, even if it's in the most modest terms. We have to keep a roof over our heads. We have to provide for our families and
Mhm.
things like that. Going up a little higher, we have to keep our reasoning processes and our intellectual processes and our education uh, uh, balanced and in tune, and we have to conquer that level of consciousness. And in numbers, say, 8, we have to keep our nervous systems in order. Number 10, we have to keep or 7, we'd have to keep our emotional things. So at each step of the way, the great work is doing the work that our present level of consciousness lays before us,
Mhm.
while we still have our eyes set on high.
Yeah.
At each of those steps, we could uh, uh, try, and many of us do, to jump a few squares.
Yeah, I know some. I know some. Never worked.
Well, it's not that it can't, but it makes things difficult because all of the unbalanced things that you've left undone on your way up bite you in the butt.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do.
And when you try to cross the abyss, they really bite you in the butt. Okay.
Mhm.
Even to the point of many people uh, will say, I crossed the abyss. Okay. I'm sorry if anyone tells you they've crossed the abyss. I have to go, well, if you say so, you know, but I have to think, as long as you're thinking in terms of I
Mhm.
as a noun, crossed as a verb, the abyss as another noun,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, across the abyss, there are no nouns
I
or
see. I
verbs.
see your
Okay.
point.
They're all one thing. Okay. Across the abyss.
Mhm.
So
That's
yeah.
fascinating. Yeah.
And
So
magic is, and the terminology, uh, magic is attractive to some people because it's a spiritual art form,
mhm. Mhm.
and all yogis and all magicians and all mystics are artists
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
And to turn that around, all artists are magicians.
Sure they are. When they get on stage, they make their magic, for thousands of people.
Well, not even even lonely painters that never meet people at all. If they're artists,
Mhm.
they're magicians.
Yeah.
Uh, so but not everybody resonates to the art form of magic. Many of us in the West do. Uh, and I think we might be able to lay the blame on the church or with its colorful icons and concepts and things like that.
Cannibal ritual.
Yeah, and our love of ritual and our love of taking all these inner qualities that in the East, people are just so comfortable. I mean, Eastern mystics are just so comfortable just sitting down, closing their eyes and going in and doing it all in there. Okay. In the West, that just freaks us out. Okay. We close our eyes and we go, wow, it's too big in there. I think, no way. So we like to do things outside of ourselves. We like rituals and we like playing with inner concepts, but we like playing with them outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And not everybody resonates to that form of magic. And the modern sort of Aleister Crowley type magic, which is super dramatic and seemingly sinister. You know, believe me, Aleister Crowley is no more sinister than Kali.
Well, now we come into interesting ground.
Yeah. But the idea in the East, these scary, bloodthirsty looking concepts have always been appreciated as beautiful in art and highest spiritual dimensions represented by this. But the second somebody in Victorian England starts talking that way about they go, whoa, you know. So
is this a reason why Crowley's language is so complicated that many contents are, let's say, have not been according to the general societal morals?
Yes, he was just about 50 years ahead of his time as far as the general acceptance of many of his so-called blasphemies.
Yeah.
Okay. Many of Crowley's blasphemies are pretty much like Episcopalians. Or the Church of England now. You go, well, yeah, he's pretty much like that, you know.
Well, he was quite an interesting character, and I think that he influenced all the Western esoterics, but they don't like to quote him, but he did.
Yeah, he did, and he was a human being too. Okay, and he was a flawed individual, just like all of us. But he was such a genius that he more or less felt that everybody was going to understand what he was.
Well, that might have been
big mistake to think that.
Yeah. Just one question came to my mind. Could you explain to, let's say, the normal people, what is an initiation good for? Is this a shortcut, or is it, what is it?
It's not a shortcut. It's a recognition, a self-recognition of an awakening. And the awakening doesn't have to be a big dramatic awakening. It just has to be a little more awake than you are now. And it's no more mysterious than that. We go through many initiations in the course of a regular normal life, not connected to mysticism or anything else. As we grow and awaken, when you hear an old man say, "Oh, if I only knew then what I know now," He is a higher initiate,
I see.
okay, than he was when he didn't know that. Okay, he's a different person. He's vibrating at another level of consciousness. But in the final analysis, there's only one level of consciousness that's conscious. Okay, and that's the singularity. And each of us are just monads, sleeping monads of that consciousness. And as we awaken, we realize that we are a part of a greater and greater body of awakened consciousness units, until it finally gets to the point where we awaken and realize that we've been each other all along. And it's that kind of awakening that makes it across the abyss and lights the big light bulb, okay? Because it's only one big light bulb and only one big light. And all the rest are just shades of that consciousness. It's that big light putting on one set of sunglasses after another, after another, after another, after another, until finally down here with us, we've got welder's glasses.
Wow. Yeah, they change the worldview, I guess. They do. That seems like at each level of this Kabbalistic tree of life, there is a different set of truths, or is it different? Yeah?
Yeah. And they try to illustrate that as the number of the Sephirah being the key to the different facets of that level of consciousness. So it's like when you're in 9, it's like you put on glasses that are faceted, that are cut, so that you see everything in terms of 9. But every number is infinite. It's not like you're limited to 9 or 8 or 7. You're just looking at the 1 with 9 glasses on.
Ooh.
And that's the reality of that awakening process. The Kabbalists, in anal retentive detail, have all their angel names and their archangel names all being multiples of 9. Okay, and yeah, somebody gives you a box, it's got 9 sides on it and stuff like that. But when you awaken to the world of 8, all of that changes. Okay, the truth is looked at, same truth is looked at an angle that splits everything into 8. So the truth does not change, but the view of the truth changes.
I see.
I don't know if you're a Freemason or not.
I'm not, no.
But even in just regular masonry, like my dad belonged to, they tell you right off, the secrets we're telling you in this degree, they're different than the secrets that you got in the previous degree. Okay.
Makes sense.
Don't forget what you said there. But when you're in this temple, when you're in this degree, this is the truth. And it sometimes contradicts the truth of the previous degree. That's Kabbalistic crazy thought. Yeah.
Yeah. But well, it's so real, it's when you get into different areas of life, then also your truth is changing, because you cannot handle life there like you did it here.
Right. And that's why you see great mystics of the past usually getting themselves burned at the stake, because because the truth that they're seeing is upsetting everybody's else's idea of truth, you know. So
Yeah, no good. How do you call these people? Crystal Muse?
Crystal Muse, yes.
Yeah, Crystal Muse. I like that. I like that.
So it's the worldview of the Christian, Muslims, and Jews. Yes.
Yeah,
So.
Crystal Muse wraps it all up. Wonderful. Lon, you give classes about your wisdom? I mean, you're a treasure chamber of wisdom. Do you give classes?
Yes, for 37 years, every Monday night,
Wow.
we gave right up till the pandemic
Mhm.
a class at our home here in Costa Mesa, and it's mostly like this. We just sit around. It's not that I pontificate. You know, class runs itself. The brilliant people show up, and we just we pretend to have a subject to talk about. So we've done that for 37 years.
Mhm.
Uh, but since the pandemic, I've been doing Zoom workshops about once a month. And that's what I was talking about this coming Wednesday on the 31st. I'm doing one on the Holy Guardian Angel.
Wonderful. I would be happy to give people your contact data and where they get the dates from. So just provide me with the information, and I will be happy to
Very
have.
good. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too. So just look up my
Okay.
name on Facebook, and
Yeah.
uh, that's where I live now.
It's an interesting place. Lots of people there.
Yeah.
Lon, thank you. This was a wonderful time, really, really fascinating and enchanting time. And I think that many people now will have a better understanding of what life is.
Well, if not, I hope they weren't bored.
No, I don't think they will not. So I hope that you get through the pandemic times in a great way and that you and your wife are healthy and thriving.
Oh, thank you very much. And same to you.
Thank you. Bye bye, Lon.
Bye bye.